At some point, I just think that when it comes to modern women today, there are a lot of them that are just as miserable as men are. But to me, I think 95% of the time that modern women are the ones that go on social media and cry about how a man doesn't spend money on them and all of that. Then you got men going on social media and crying about how their women don't give them attention either. I guess it goes without saying it goes both ways. But both parties at this point need to just work on themselves and get themselves together before they decided to just jump into any relationship without feeling depressed and miserable when you still need to get some professional counseling. To me, I think social media plays a huge role in corrupting the minds of both men and women into thinking that what they do and it's okay without dealing with repercussions. So it's obvious to me that both men and women are allergic to the word accountability. And this is no surprising to me at all.
Favor and buckle up and watch the entirety of this video. Trust me, it's going to be worth it. In this video, I want to do a complete breakdown of how modern women today have betrayed men and their family by adopting and sticking to the girl code. Within this girl code, modern women today have chosen the wrong alliance. And this alliance has allowed mainstream media and feminist propaganda to infiltrate her community, her household, and her mindset.
Exactly.
For you see, these brilliant propagandists have shaped the narrative throughout our media that women have been under the oppression of men since the beginning of time. The result of this narrative has led into archetype of personalities, resulting in the boss bitch, the queen bee, I am a woman, hear me roar type of personality traits, which has continued to plague society.
And now that you think about it, when you look at Hollywood movies right now, you see a whole lot of women getting lead roles and doing basically everything than what men are doing. I mean, I'm all for like female superheroes representing the good, but if you're trying to put some of that unnecessary woke agendas into the movies and all of that, I could just push all the men aside and just say F you to all of us. Like, this is women's turns now. Like, we're the ones taking over. Y'all are just a side piece. Y'all are just a sideline. And that's the one thing that I don't like about Hollywood today. And I think feminism also played a huge role in this negative effect, making men seem like we're nothing. After all these years of putting up, creating jobs and building jobs and stadiums, casinos, and all of that, men were the ones that did a lot. I mean, women can do some stuff too, but if you try to make it seem like, oh, I'm a woman, I can do the same thing as you do, like I'm better than you, being all cocky and all of that, then it's obvious to me that it's obvious to me that you are one of the millennials that think that you're better than us, but in reality you're not, because you want validation. And that's the sad truth that we're facing in reality.
In the household. How is that, might you ask? Well, guys, we're going to go over some key concepts today that I want you to understand. So let's get active.
The rise of online dating and the rise of feminism has taught women that they are not to blame for any poor choices. Every poor choice is glamorized. So if you want to be a sex worker, it's great. If you want to post bikini pictures online, it's fine. If you want to be with it, every poor choice is glamorized. And every internal reflection is seen as gaslighting yourself. So they've even got terms for internal reflection to prevent it happening. And so what will happen is they are trained to not reflect on themselves because we've been told we've been oppressed for so many years. Now it's time to make sure we project. And so we don't take any accountability. And as a result, when we get into relationships, if we don't feel completely soothed all the time, he must be a narcissist. He must be a manipulator. He must be gaslighting. He, rather.
She basically just said it for us though, because I love what she's saying about modern women today of what they're doing on social media, because they want every man to give them a different kind of validation instead of thinking about their own choices and dealing with their own consequences and dealing with the repercussions that come with it. Especially if you're doing OnlyFans and corn, because Those two are the exact same things. You're online, getting butt naked, doing what you want to do, getting simps to pay their job working money to spend money on you. And it's obvious to me that women love simps. They love that. They love that type of stuff. But the issue with that situation is that if you have a good man at home that doesn't want you doing all of that craziness, and you decided to go behind his back and completely disrespect and ruin the relationship that the two of you had before, then it's obvious to me that you're one of those modern women that doesn't respect relationships and boundaries. And another thing that she also brought up is that instead of taking accountability, it's always he, instead of I, like I did it, I messed up, I'm sorry, I take full accountability for my actions, I take full responsibilities of what I do, and all of that. Like, it's not hard to admit your wrongs, but it just seems like nowadays they don't ever want to admit that. Also, a lot of men also take the blame for things that they didn't do, especially if they're trying to tell them something or they try to correct them. But instead, they love to pull this whole manipulation by crying and getting all emotional and acting crazy when confronted. That's why a lot of men are checking out. That's why a lot of men are getting their passports to go overseas.
That caters to that wounded woman, that caters to that entitled woman, and caters to that narcissistic woman.
So the first concept that I wanted to speak about is how feminism has replaced the mother and the wife archetype. And they did this by replacing the duty or the responsibility of those two words with just having a title with it, with no meaning behind that. You see, when feminism first started all of those waves ago, it wasn't about the modern day shit that we hear about today, being forever oppressed, down with men, sexually liberated. It was about equal rights. It was about equality. Having the right to vote, having the right to own property, having the right to have bank accounts, equal wage for the same amount of work and same quality.
Let me just say this right now. Men and women are not equal. Y'all wanted to be, but we're not. The problem is y'all be the ones fighting for equality, but the problem with that is that you want to replace men because you want to do what they do. But the thing is that if you want the same thing we do, all you're doing is just replacing us. Because you want to make it seem like, yeah, since y'all the one built this and that, we could do this the exact same thing. But the issue with that is that you didn't. I've seen countless of TikTok videos of women try to prove to men that they can do what we can do. The issue with that, they can't. They fail every time. That's the truth.
Access to divorce, but as we all know, it is completely out of control today. And that's because the nonstop propaganda was too successful. And it was just that. Propaganda. But what are the most damaging? It has replaced the responsibility and the duty of being a wife and a mother with the importance of having a job title.
Exactly.
This 55-year-old is responding to a TikTok that...
This 55-year-old is responding to a TikTok that asks older women what it's like being child-free by choice. She is literally glowing.
Stop the cap.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that.
Free by choice. She is literally glowing.
This meant a life of complete and total freedom, a life of joy, a life of non-aging, as we can see. There's no filler Botox in this face. It has meant that I was able to retire from corporate America at the age of 38 years old, to travel the world and live abroad in luxury and style, and I'm still doing that all these years later, all these decades later. I live abroad, I travel, I have businesses, I have money.
Only reason why you're wearing makeup is because you don't want to show your wrinkles. Just embrace who you are. Stop putting up a front for the cameras.
For your family, but let's say for you personally, additional income has zero impact on your quality of life. Zero.
And we see this regret. And although it's not talked about to the degree that it needs to be, modern women today are now displaying this regret, and it's also showing up in select ways in mainstream media. Exhibit A, Sex in the City author Candace Bushnell regrets not having kids, says...
You want to know the thing that really drives me crazy with these media nowadays is that they all regret this and that when they the ones that made a drastic decision to join whatever it is that they want to do. Whether you're in the adult industry, you're in the music industry, or you regret feminism because you went pro-choice, right? Now all of a sudden, years later, when you look back at your stupid decisions, you're now regretting it. When you literally could have just be a better version, a mother, a wife. But instead, you chose your career over family. Why do you think some porn stars retire at a young age or in their mid-40s and 50s? Because they lived that lifestyle. And now people are resenting them because of that decision. It's obvious to me that feminism has destroyed many generations to come. And this is proof of that.
That may not remember Sex in the City.
How could you forget someone?
Oh, I used to watch that show, but I ain't like it that much.
It was a show in the late 90s and the early 2000s that was a feminist woman's pipe dream. You had these four women in Manhattan. I believe one was like a sex columnist or something like that, just exploring their sexuality in strong boss bee woman format all throughout the city of New York.
Yep.
So they made money off of this queen bee idealistic, I don't need no man, I'll get married sometime in my 30s, if not my 40s. Woo! I'm having a roaring 20s right now. Meanwhile, the author of Sex in the City was regretting the lifestyle that she created. Sex in the City may have left a trailblazing legacy for women on television, but the book's original author now thinks her independent lifestyle may have not been as rewarding. Candace Bushnell, 60, who wrote the original 1997 novel, which spawned the successful TV series for HBO, opened up to the Sunday Times about her 2012 divorce, admitting it made her realize how not starting a family made her in 40s. I didn't think about it, she recalled. Then when I got divorced and I was in my 50s, mind you, women initiate 70-ish% of all divorces. They get in their echo chambers of other single-ass women.
And that's why, like I said before, a lot of men aren't getting their passports and going to Philippines, Thailand, Japan, Asian countries that are more traditional than women here in America. Because when you think about it, the divorce rates in the U.S. is way higher than any other country because love is just dead at this point. It's dead in the waters. And it's just obvious to me that women cheat more than men because they're not satisfied with their partners in their home, or they could have just like talk it out, figure out ways to interact with one another, do some activities. And I've always said this all the time in my videos. Do some things that you normally do as a couple that can keep each other preoccupied, you know?
So the grass is always greener on the other side. But then get out into the dating market and realize that they have to deal with women 10 to 15 to 20 years their junior. I started to see the impact of not having children and truly being alone. Bushnell, who is getting porked by a real estate agent, is preparing to release a new book titled, Is There Still Sex in the City? The book, which drops in August, deals with what Bushnell calls middle-age sadness, along with the new obstacles women face once they turn 50.
I'm tired. I'm tired of doing it myself.
Here we go.
I'm tired of being alone. I want to share my life with someone. I am just freaking tired.
Too late.
I found this study created at the University of Pennsylvania, where they talk through the loneliness and depression in middle and old age. Are the childless more vulnerable? Results indicate that net of other effects, both loneliness and depression are significantly related to childlessness for women, but not men. Childless women are 46% more likely to report high depression compared to mothers. These results demonstrate the greater salience of childlessness for women compared to men. The findings are discussed in the context of the changing norms regarding marriage, divorce, childlessness, and gender roles experienced by the newly emerging cohorts of middle age and elderly. So we have all this information.
That kind of reminds me of the story I saw on YouTube a while back. Was a man that got diagnosed with cancer. His daughter and wife were being there for him, but the wife just made it seem like since he was diagnosed with cancer, it changed him mentally and physically, because when you have cancer, you know that your mind physically and mentally can play tricks on you, and it causes you to think and act differently. But that's not the case at all. I think it's just the way that people feel when they deal with this disease and everything. I don't have cancer or nothing like that, but I'm just saying that if she would have cancer, she would have be feeling the exact same way as he is right now. But instead, her and her daughter decided to leave the husband during his lowest time, because she's complaining that, oh, he's changed, he's aggressive, he's bitter and all of that, instead of being a support that he needs. Burdett was just left them, her and her daughter. And so the nurse came in, completely changed his life. And it's obvious to me that the nurse was more caring and more respecting than the wife and daughter. You want to know what he did? So the husband, the ex-husband, got his revenge by allowing his nurse to move in with him to take care of him until he got his, energy back. So now that he's been cancer free, and he divorced his wife because she was cheating on him as well. And the fact that the daughter was on the mother's side the entire time is really depressing. If I find a video, I'll post it in the description, because I think y'all need to watch the story and understand why all of this is disgusting on both parts, especially from the mother and daughter. You left your father, your ex-husband, almost dying, fighting for his life, and now that he has a nurse that he's dating that loves him, and he's married to her, by the way, she comes and try to be all reckish and getting herself arrested. It really goes to show you that women can be cold-blooded, cold-hearted, and heartless and evil in times. And the story I just told you was the prime example of that.
Feminists don't care about these numbers. Feminists don't care about biology. For them, it's about power. It's about money. Meanwhile, the power or the happiness in young women's lives is so closely tied to becoming of marriageable material so that they can start a nuclear family.
Most women are happier at home. They are pretending that they like working, and they're not making money because they don't stay all night at the office. They don't go the extra mile. They don't work all weekend. You're making a mistake. You would be much happier at home with a husband and children.
Oh boy. Oh.
I mean, I'm literally.
No, ain't no old boy. It's true.
You don't have a boyfriend. You're what?
That's
you
my
celibate?
choice.
Yeah. Look, you're miserable. You would be so much happier with kids around you tonight.
Yeah.
Imagine coming home, mommy's home.
But the queen bee.
He said it. And she's on TV getting triggered over the truth. That's what feminists do. They get triggered over facts. They get triggered over facts, over feelings. And you know what they say? Facts don't care about your feelings. And it's obvious to me that nowadays women on TikTok and social media saying, oh, I don't need a man and all of that. If that was the case, if you didn't need us anymore, then who helped you give birth to kids? Who set up electrician bills? Who built houses? Who built roads? Basically, a lot of men did everything in this world just to keep you preoccupied. So it's obvious to me that you do need us, man. A lot of y'all do need us. As bad as the world is right now, you still do. I'm just saying, this whole feminist movement needs to die.
Their soul brings them farther away from ever achieving that goal. Women embracing feminist ideology has resulted in a cohort of women who like the idea and the sound of certain roles, but are not prepared to be in those roles. For example, she wants a high-earning, productive man, but refuses to learn how to cook or refuses to cook for her man. Surgeon goes viral after she cooks for her husband after working a 13-hour shift. Husband expects dinner when he gets home.
I mean, she's being a good wife. She's serving her man, cooking her man's food when he gets home from work. And I'm sure he's going to do the exact same thing for her. That's what being
she absolutely did the damn thing.
About.
So as you guys can expect, this caused a tremendous uproar all over these internet streets, which caused the surgeon to respond in the following video.
I actually don't like my husband cooking, and so I like to let him relax while I cook, and that's...
If I had a girlfriend like that, I'd be the happiest man in the world, and I'll do the exact same thing for her. Like, it's all about teamwork and taking turns. She cooks, I cook, she cleans, I clean, and we help each other out. That's what being 50-50, and that's what being in a traditional relationships and marriages is all about. But it seems like feminists nowadays don't like that. They don't like when women that are traditional and respecting their partners and all of that. They want to have this feminist mindset of thinking that they can do whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? You're a woman, you're in your 20s, you should be out having fun, screwing around, having sex, catching multiple diseases, and you expect people to take you seriously and care? No. That's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to do. But kudos to her for having self-respect for the relationship and marriage, unlike modern women today. The 304s I'm talking about.
The word expect.
Because you could tell she was raised right.
Expects me to cook for him.
Thank God.
Yes. I'm his wife, and I cook for him.
It's led to an epidemic of women that want to be married but refuse to be wives. They want the wedding, but they don't want the marriage. And when the marriage does not go their way, then they file for divorce.
Facts.
And I understand that correlation does not equal causation. But if you look at the data of marriages per 1,000 people and begin to see when the decline started, third wave feminism began in the 90s. And look what has happened over the next few decades as feminism has continued to grow.
Jesus
and also
Christ.
look at the average age of women that are getting married as compared to in the 90s versus closer to today. It's going up. They're pushing it out farther. And I think a major component of this is the media to blame. So what's the takeaways from all of this? Well, I would say that although women have been propelled into the workforce, their love of job titles is still not over-prioritized by creating and starting a family. And the interesting about all of that is that men still hold the burden of performance, the burden of utility, the burden of financial stability. That's how you can get a modern day feminist today that has her cake and eats it too. Meaning she can claim boss B being strong and independent, but she still won't give your average earning ass the time of day.
You're squirming, and I'm just asking, how much are you
R.I.P.
going
to
to
the
charge?
Godfather, y'all.
Meaning, how much does your man have to make annually for you to choose to be submissive to him?
Let's say $250,000 a year.
Because in the back of her mind, she's thinking towards, well, how can I give myself to someone with the highest earning?
It's obvious to me that going into any relationships in 2023, or you're dating in 2023, a lot of these women expect you to make the exact same amount of money as they're making. And it doesn't have to be the exact same amount. Whether you're in a different career path, like let's just say if you're working in a 9-to-5 job, like if you're working in Target or you're working in an ice cream shop, making ice cream rolls and all of that, you make up to what, $610,000 an hour? That's pretty much survival. Like you can survive making $10K a day, a month, or a year, because you're trying to make a living with your life doing something productive. Whatever she's working at, whatever money that she's making from that job that she's working in, she's making more money than me. But guess what? I don't care. At least both of us are making money. We're bringing home the bread every day to survive in life. It's not about competing with one another of who can make the best money and bring home the best bread. As long as both of you are bringing home money every day to make sure that the bills are paid, the rent is paid, like you're taking care of grown folks' businesses, then you have nothing to worry about. And I literally hate the fact that we ask these modern women questions about how much money should he make? How much money do you want out of a man? They're not about love. They're not about being in the committed relationships. They're all about money. That's all they think about is money. Because, my guy, if you're in a relationship with someone who only cares about money than you, it's obvious to me that you married a gold digger. That you're dating a gold digger. Because I've seen it myself in real life and on social media. Because at this point, love is just dead. The only way for you to be in a relationship with someone is money. Either that or being a bad boy, because I want to talk about that as well. Being a good guy is dead now. If you're being a good guy, you're being nice to your girl, and she expects some toxicity out of you, get out of that relationship. That's a red flag. It seems like toxic relationships are more attractive than being in a normal, conductive relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Dance that modern women have today allows them to also be perpetual childlike princesses, while also punishing the men in the same society for being dominant. And as a result of all of this, modern women today are not interested in finding a male leader, while at the same time being groomed to have an insatiable appetite for the most alpha man to be loyal, consistent, and monogamous to her.
Exactly.
Now, it comes into the fact that since there's
not shout out to her, man. I love her so much, man. I love her videos.
And when I say qualified, I don't mean just financially. I mean in the brain. Woo! Qualified to reason and think and deal and raise and make decisions. It's so few men that are qualified for that, which is why if we find a good man like that, you need to get a number and get in line and hope he'll include you.
As men.
Man, shout out to the queen. She said it. She definitely said it for us. I don't need to explain my thoughts. She said it. I love it. Let's continue.
So we can conceptualize what is happening around us and to the women that we are dating. But if you didn't hear anything within this video, just understand these things. The feministic propaganda dribble starts when they're a child, and they have been raised to think that you ain't shit, while also them being better than you.
Will you marry me? Mary Jane!
I sing this clip all the time.
Why did you do that?
To prove to myself that you'll always be there for me when it really counts.
The second thing is that the majority of women break all rules for alpha men. But the third, and maybe the most important rule, is that whether you're an alpha guy...
Am I the only one who likes Gwen Stacy more than Mary Jane? Sound off in the comments.
Divorce court system doesn't give a shit about you. So protect yourself at
They always favor
times.
the women.
Questions?
And man, shout out to MTR for this awesome video. I love how he broke everything down, and it's obvious to me that feminism has continued to play its course in relationships and marriages, and how it breaks up the majority of marriages and relationships because they want to pin this whole feminist movement by destroying men's mental health, making it seem like we ain't shit or anything. But 95% of the time, I look at what's really ruining society is feminism, because no matter what we say, no matter how many times we spread the truth about facts or anything, they call us misogynists or anything out of the book. They don't know the definition of the word. Instead of looking it up and studying it, they should understand why we say these things, because we're always trying to tell the truth. And lastly, before I end this video, about when I said about the man almost dying of cancer, I'm going to find a video and I'm going to put that in the description so y'all can check it out. But yeah, this is a good video. I think we all learn about feminism and why it needs to die, because it's been happening since forever. I've always said that women always want to fight for equality. Yeah, you can do that, but at the same time, you don't need to try to replace men that have done everything first before, you know, y'all can do your own thing. Like, I'm all for women empowerment by encouraging to do right by one another, but instead, you use of feminism to push men aside to let everybody know that, yeah, we ain't nothing. And that right there is a no-no. You can't do that. So, link to the original video will be down below. Shout out to my boy MTR. Shout out to my boy MTR for an incredible video. I love it a lot. I learned a lot from this. So, what's y'all thoughts? Chime in the chat, and I'm gonna catch you in the next one.